In this video, I will talk about the past perfect continuous. I will go through some examples, explain how to form a past perfect continuous and why we use it. Let's start with the examples. Take a look at the following sentences. James had been playing for Leeds United for a while before he went to Manchester City. I hadn't been eating chocolate for quite some time. Had I been dating for several weeks? All three sentences use a past perfect continuous. The first is an example of an affirmative sentence, the second a negative one, and the last is a question. To understand how we form the past perfect continuous, we have to examine these sentences a bit further, so let's take a look at the first one. James had been playing for Leeds United for a while before he went to Manchester City. We are going to focus on the verb. In this case, the verb is had been playing. This means the verb is consisting out of three verbs. Let's continue with this information and analyze them further. The first part in this example is had. This comes from the verb to have. We call this part the auxiliary verb and is always conjugated in the past simple. The second part here is been. This originates from the verb to be. This part is always the past participle of the verb to be. The last part is playing. This comes from the verb to play. We call this our main verb. The main verb is put in the ing form. This brings us to the following conclusion. The past perfect continuous is formed with three verbs. The auxiliary verb to have, conjugated in the past simple, the past participle of the verb to be, and the main verb in the ing form. If we look back at our example, we can see that there is a second part to the sentence. In this part we also find a verb. Since this is technically a new sentence, this verb is once again my main verb. This means that the action that took place later in time is put in the past simple. Let me make it clear with the example. James had been playing for Leeds United for a while before he went to Manchester City. On a closer look, we see that had been playing is formed using the past perfect continuous. This is because this action took place before the other one. This means that after he had been playing for Leeds United for a while, he went to Manchester City. Therefore, the later action is put in the past simple. We also form negative sentences, of course. If that is the case, we have to change our auxiliary verb to have by putting it in the negative form. For example, I hadn't been eating chocolate for quite some time. The other verbs, so been and the main verb, remain unchanged. If we want to ask a question using the past perfect continuous, we change the order of our sentence. The auxiliary verb is put in front. For example, had they been dating for several weeks? Of course, you must remember to put a question mark behind your sentence. Now that we know how to form a past perfect continuous, it is also important to know when to use it. We use it to talk about actions that were going on in the past before another past action. And we want to stress the duration. It had been raining all day when the sun finally came out from behind the clouds. Now I hope you understand when and how to use a past perfect continuous. Thanks for listening and see you later.